Hi. I want to welcome everybody to the OverComer's Network. My name is Delon Scoffrey, and this is just a little bit of introduction about me and about the OverComer's Network and why we decided to start this podcast in the first place, because it's not as if there isn't enough personal development or people telling stories or sharing experiences on the internet or on podcasts. So what makes this podcast a little bit different? First and foremost, a little bit about myself. I'm 39 years old. I am a recently released, and about recently at this stage, today is April 21st, the day after 420. So I'm about 5 months out of prison. I just finished I did 6 years, 8 months, 2,487 days to be exact, for an aggravated DUI, which essentially my license was suspended, and that's why it was aggravated. It wasn't like my blood alcohol level was extreme. It wasn't as if I was in an accident or hit a curb or ran into somebody's house. Ultimately, I got a DUI. I was drunk the day after Christmas. Not to disown my responsibility or what happened, but I was drunk driving the day after Christmas, and they decided that an 8-year sentence was appropriate for that crime. I didn't have 1,000 DUIs. Again, I was in an accident. We're not even really going to go into detail about that, at least not in this episode. But I just want to give you a little bit of background about my situation, and I walked out of that not bitter. I walked out of that ready to not only make a difference, but to use my story and my experience to help embolden other people to do the same thing. Because one of the things that I always share with people when it comes to like a spiritual experience or religious experience, that it isn't necessarily scripture that's going to bring people into the fold. It isn't going to be any ayah or any verse that's going to say, hey, you know what, that's what did it for me. Usually it stems from somebody's testimony, from the story or the experience that somebody else encountered, that you said, man, you know what, I can relate to that or that person. And that's what brought you into the fold. And so I felt like that there was a necessary need for people to understand that there's a lot of different ways in which one can live a life, but the most important thing that you need to grasp along this journey is your ability to relinquish the necessity to identify with external things, right? I, for the longest time, was a lot of different things. I was a football player. I was a basketball player. I was a son, a brother, a nephew, a neighbor, a cousin, a homeboy. I was a gangbanger, a drug dealer, a stick-up kid. I was a player. I was a lot of different things. And these are how I identified. And not only did I identify with the title, but I also identified with everything that came with it. I bought in completely into the narrative, because really at the end of the day, that's all it is narrative. It doesn't really matter if you have no money in the bank or you have millions of dollars in the bank. It doesn't matter if you live in a mansion or in a cardboard box that you recently just crafted out and now you're sleeping in it. At the end of the day, all you are is just a spiritual being having a human experience. You're just a person that's walking around, looking and breathing. That's it. So what you wear and what you drive and where you live are really inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, because what it all boils down to is that you're just a spiritual being having a human experience. And when you begin to identify with who you are or what you have or what you don't have, that's when you allow stress and worry and all of these other illnesses, because that's what stress is. It's an illness, right? These sicknesses, these diseases that take over your body and they create bad health and posture and disposition and all these different things. And so I think that there is a need for more people to tap in to the relinquishment of identification with self. We have to learn to starve the ego so that it can essentially become no more. Now, I'm not here to say that I live a minimalist life, that I believe that, materials are the devil. I'm not here to have that conversation again, at least not today. What I will say is that now these things are not evil. They're finite tools. They're finite means or resources. They are mere toys. And so what you do or do not have, when you identify with these things, it's when it becomes a problem. It's nothing wrong with having a car or a nice car, but when you begin to identify with that car, when when your identity is wrapped into it, that what happens to the car will adversely affect you. Somebody scratch your car, you'll be livid for a week, and it'll ruin your month. Why is that? It's just a car. It doesn't live, it doesn't breathe, it doesn't reproduce. It just gets you from A to B. Like any vehicle could get you from A to B. You walk around on a vehicle that can get you from A to B. You could get a bicycle, a scooter, you could get a Vespa, all these different things you could have to get from A to B. So when it becomes part of your identity, that it's more than just a means to get from A to B in a particular fashion, but now it's or we'll use the body image, right? Some people have this body image, right? That I was listening to Eckhart Tolle. He said something beautiful. He talked about how people that identify with the pain body or with the body, that they become more and more, what did he use? I guess you can say sad or depressed or upset, because the thing that they've identified with the most all their life is beginning to wither away. And you can no longer you can't blame it on the mirror. And that's because they've chosen to identify with the body, something that is going to deteriorate. It's a finite. It's not here forever. So when you identify with it, when it goes to these changes, when you get a pimple on your face and you pop it, I had one on my nose and it popped, and then now it looks bad. But I don't identify with the pimple. Or I don't identify with my face. It's just, this is what I was born with. So, what happens to it is, if I were dismembered, I would probably be upset for a time. But then I would remember that I'm not identified by my face. So that's actually cool, because I'm still alive and I still have the ability to impact the world in a way in which can make the greatest difference. See, when people begin to focus on becoming consciously aware, then there's a shift or change in tide that transpires. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to compile people who have had experiences in life to where they could not focus. They were experiencing so much pain and so much trauma that they couldn't focus on anything else except the healing and the reparation. And somewhere along the way, they found the stillness in between the thoughts. And it's in that stillness that you can find not only the inner peace and harmony, but that's where the awareness lies. And they come to share their story and to give their testimony. And these are regular people. These are not celebrities. I mean, we'll eventually at some point in time probably talk to some people who are consciously aware and maybe have a little bit more notoriety. But we're not going to be talking about anything salacious. We're not going to be talking about anything that you'd see on TMZ. This is purely about enlightenment. And this is about self-exploration. And this is about awareness. And this is about overcoming all of the obstacles, hurdles, and challenges that plague us. And oftentimes, overcoming a financial obstacle isn't as simple as just getting a check, because you'll find yourself in another financial obstacle if you don't rectify it between the 6 inches that exist between your left and your right ear. And that's what the Overcomer Network is all about. And so I hope that you guys will join me. We'll do 3 episodes a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's fresh, it's new. There'll be some changes. So if you like things, you can go ahead and hit us up. You can add me on Instagram at DESCO, DESCO25. You can hit me up on Facebook, Delon Escoffery. And we'll be adding an Overcomer Network, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We'll get it all set up, but we wanted to just get this thing launched, man, because at the end of the day, you have to take action. All that other stuff will come when it's supposed to come. But we just wanted to get this out here. So I really appreciate you guys for taking the time, and I look forward to going on this journey with you. Peace.